Have you ever wanted to talk to the smartest person in the room who also was one of the kindest people in the room, who also was one of the people who could help you get centered, and also that same person who can make you make a lot of money in your business? Well, you have that chance in this episode, my friend. In this episode, we're talking to one of my closest, bestest friends, Christie Osborne of Mountainside Media, who has some amazing perspectives, not only on ads and analytics for Facebook and Google, but also on energy protection, tarot readings, and crystals. She is a woman after my own heart. Lean in, listen, implement, and learn in this episode that is packed with lots of helpful tips and tricks to uplevel not only your energy, but your business. Let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. This is the place where you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs come to vanquish the burnout monster and boost your glow and cash flow with energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies. Since seven figures won't get itself, hit that subscribe button and never miss out on your chance to skyrocket profits, tap into your intuition, and manifest your dreams. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
Have you ever felt like you were doing affirmations and you were just going through the motions? You didn't really agree or believe the words you were saying. I've been there before and I'm there often. And sometimes that means that one, your affirmations are a little stale. It's time to freshen it up. Or two, it could be that you haven't dug deep enough. It's time to dive a little deeper and to have a little bit of a more understanding of what you really need. So if your affirmation is, I'm rich and powerful, well, maybe that's not what you really want. And what also you'll need to get to being rich and powerful. So I would say your affirmations, if you don't believe them, they're probably not going to work, because affirmations are all about the energetic information that you're truly imprinting on your world as a powerful creator. If you're imprinting, okay, I'm saying this with my words, but I don't really believe this with my heart, you're just kind of saying things. It's going to be a much harder slog to get to what you really need and what you're really looking for. In this episode, we talk a lot about what the power of words and meaning. And one of the things that I have used to stay true to what I really believe is it's okay to not believe what I've been told to believe. I know that sounds kind of weird sometimes, that often we are the ones who tell ourselves what we are supposed to believe and not supposed to believe. And like I've said before, we should all over ourselves. I should do this or I shouldn't do that. But it's okay not to believe what I've been told to believe. And I give myself permission, and I invite you to do the same. Give yourself permission to create a new paradigm. Give yourself permission to create a new belief, one that supports you as you are now, not the should you're supposed to be or the past self that you've already grown from. It's okay to believe. It's okay to not believe what I've been told to believe. And that's the mantra that I have for you today. It's okay not to believe what I've been told to believe. It's okay not to believe what I've been told to believe. Say it with me. It's okay not to believe what I've been told to believe. It's okay not to believe what I've been told to believe. And if you truly think about that and sit in those words and you use that mantra as a way to keep moving yourself and your personal progression forward, you'll probably find that the affirmations that you choose resonate more and you get better results, because you're creating from a place of authenticity and true self-care and self-love. You're respecting yourself for who you are, what you want, and where you're going. And that, my friend, is how the magic happens. In this episode, we do talk a little bit about magic and how to bring things to life using some magical tools, but really the magic always boils down to you dipping into that core part of yourself that just knows. And that stays knowing and stays in the knowing and stays in the loving. If you can be in the loving with yourself and with others, my friend, there's nothing that you will not be able to achieve. All right, let's dive in now to talk to Christie about loving, magic, patience, all of the above, all things regarding around self-will, self-esteem, heart-centeredness. She has some juicy stuff packed in this interview. Let's go. Hey there, everybody, empire building entrepreneurs. Welcome back to the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast with me, your host, Alea Harris. And I am joined today by one of my closest friends, one of the biggest brains I know, and one of the biggest hearts I know, Christie Osborne from Mountainside Media. Christie, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I love
I
hanging out with you.
I
Anyway,
know. Like you guys really, what we really should make into our podcast episodes is our Vox messages. Now that is some in-depth content. I Vox with Christie pretty much daily, and
yeah.
we really dive into everything from how much should I pay this person to what kind of identity crisis to I'm exhausted, I just need to vent.
To how do I cleanse this creepy New England Airbnb I need to stay in for the next month? To which Alea's suggestion was, leave that place. And why are
Leave
you
the
staying
place.
in creepy places anyway? Stay at a Marriott like a normal person.
But
Best advice
since you
ever.
wanted to stay, I was like, okay, here's how you set up your altar. You went and had the time of your life getting
Time of my
tarot
life.
cards and crystals.
Crystals. Yep. Tourmaline.
All the
Lavender from
crystals.
the farmer's market. Oh yeah, it was good. It was good.
It was good. Well, Christy, besides being obviously my sister from another mister, what else do you do? What does Mountainside Media do? What problem do you solve for the folks out there?
Yeah, like anybody with a master's degree in history, I'm a marketer.
That seems to go well.
Yeah, sales or marketing. I am a marketer and I specialize in ads and analytics. And one of the special powers that I noticed about myself quite early on in my marketing career is that I'm very naturally numbers oriented. But I'm also, like, really deeply empathetic, so I have this neat little gift that I can see human behavior behind metrics and numbers, and so that's what I do for my clients. I figure out how to take all those numbers and metrics that are coming in and explain to them what's going on in people's minds and hearts, and then create some sort of action plan or strategy in order to fix any problems or leverage any opportunities.
I love that, and I might be biased, probably, but you're the only one I've ever met that can do that. So you normally get like a Facebook or Google Ads guru, and then they start talking, and the conversation's like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like as the client, and you're like, so did we make money? Do we not make money? I don't know. Like that's how I feel. But when I talk to Christy about it, it's like, yes, here's the technical piece, but this is what it means for you and your business, which I appreciate because then as a business owner, I can make decisions. I can't make decisions if I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Or if the person that I'm talking to can't read the human behavior behind the numbers, which is, like Christy said, her superpower and her secret sauce. So, Christy, how long have you been doing this thing? How long have you been in this game?
Well, I've been doing math in my head since I was 8, and I discovered the magic of long division in 3rd grade. I've been marketing since 2007 when I built my first website, nobody came to it, and I've been marrying the 2 probably for about 8 years now.
8 years. So there's been lots of great things in that 8 years, some probably not so great things that have become learning moments over the past 8 years, and that can cause a lot of people and a lot of especially female business owners to burn out going through the trials and the tribulations of business ownership, especially if they're as specialized and as much of a unique unicorn as you are. So over these past 8 years or more, what techniques or tools do you use to avoid that burnout or see yourself through that burnout and stay in alignment both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I love that question. I do think it's going to be unique to everybody, like how do you avoid burnout? A lot of it depends on your personality. But one thing that I think that anybody can do, irrespective of one's personality, is to test a lot. One of the natural things that I do when I'm working on ads or analytics or numbers is we set up really small tests that will tell us sort of where we are on the map, right? We start to remember the game Battleship where you would say to
You
the
sunk
your
my battleship. Yes, I
yeah,
do.
but you were like A6, A4,
Yes.
and as soon as you get a hit, you start feeling around that hit to like identify the shape of the battleship or the ship. And if you're not getting a hit, you stop doing that stuff, right? You can do this with your analytics, but you can also do it with your life and your business. And so, what I've discovered is that if I get really comfortable with small failures, and I understand that in all things in the human experience, in your life and your business, which are not separate,
Nope, they
um,
are the same.
yeah, if you treat everything as sort of a test rather than a destination or some sort of should that you put all over yourself, you can
Oh,
avoid burnout because you start to approach your business and your life with a spirit of curiosity rather than like, oh, well, this internet marketing guru said that I should be making six figures in 6 minutes with their special framework. Why isn't it working for me? Well, instead of why isn't it working for me is a great question, but instead of like attaching some sort of judgment to it, like there's something wrong with me, bring a spirit of curiosity and be like, why isn't this working for me? Maybe your business is different. Maybe you don't have the same audience size. Maybe there's some intermediary steps that you need to take to find the outline of the ship so that you can be successful. So I would say, just understand that you're going to fail. Try to fail, you know, like don't fail big. Try to fail small, fail often, and come with a heart and a spirit of curiosity to everything you do. And then even the failures can become, if not fun, a little lighthearted. You can add some levity to the failure.
I love that. I'm thinking of it like Battleship because you poke around in your fake ocean. Another thing that is, if you think of it like Battleship, it's like you didn't lose until the game is over. So just keep playing the game. So just keep testing, just keep moving forward because one battleship, let's say you sunk that battleship, but what about the next one? You got some other pieces on the board. Just keep going. I love that. Oh, intelligent and smart and graceful. I expect nothing else from Christie Osborne.
Thank
So,
you.
you helped us navigate literally with the whole water sea situation, but you've helped us navigate the thought and the concept of burnout. But what about your area of expertise inside of ads and analytics? What are three pro tips that our empire builders can use to scale their business while enjoying the journey?
Yeah, I think that enjoying the journey is sort of a choice and it's a big picture alignment situation. You are not going to enjoy every single second of every single day as you know because I box you every time I'm like flying
Yeah.
off the ledge, right? I'm like, "Ah."
Oh,
But
well, but then the next Vox is me flying off my own ledge. So
right, like, "Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working?" So, understand that enjoying things, it's not some sort of, like, moment by moment nirvana. It's that big picture thing where you have a hard day and you can reflect on the things that you did well or you're grateful for, or you just do some sort of self-love meditation or hang out with your rose quartz or whatever you do, understanding that big picture and little picture. And that's very, very typical when it comes to dealing with ads and analytics. We always have our big picture strategies that we're going toward, right? So, one client of mine wants to make $1.2 million next year, and a portion of that comes from ads. Okay, well, instead of going on the internet and looking for $1.2 million, I break it up into $100,000 months and $25,000 weeks. Now, this might not be the numbers that you're are in your world, but whatever it is, break it up. And then what you can do is you can see how you're pacing along, right? Like step by step, how am I doing? It's almost like hiking. If you're a hiker, you're out there hiking or you're working out and you're like, did I get enough food? Do I have enough water? Am I tired? Do I need to slow down? Do I need to sit in the shade? And when you do it like that and you have an off month where it's like, oh, we only made $80,000 this month. Two things come to it with a spirit of curiosity. Why did we only make $80,000? Is it something within our control or not? Because Facebook changes everything all the time. And then two,
All the time.
you have that do-over opportunity where you can make up that that 20% down over the course of next month or the following month. So, constantly being able to picture the big picture and the little picture and toggle back and forth is one tip, not just for ads and analytics, but for business and life in general. Second thing is you don't get to control everything. Um, Algorithms
Wait a minute,
change.
wait a minute, wait a minute. But I thought I did. I've been trying to control everything. Oh, wait, that's probably why you're burnt out and you're exhausted and you hate your business and you I'm sorry. That is like the soapbox I get on because people are like, "Oh, I have to control 100%." I'm just like, "You certainly aren't leaving room for the universe to surprise you or to help you out at all, are you? Or for something that you don't know to be existing in the planet."
That's right. That's right. There's
Ugh.
there is a there's a I can't remember who did it, but there's like a little manifestation prayer that when you're thinking about like what you want, you state it and then you say for the good of all or not at all, right? And the idea behind that is you leave yourself open to being out of control or not having things work out the way you envisioned it. We have so many mood boards and don't get me wrong, I got me some mood boards too and I do the visualization, all that stuff. But understand you're not in control of Facebook, you're not in control of the universe and universal intelligence. You're not in control of any of that. What you are in control of is your own attitude and reaction and behavior when things flip upside down and you feel like everything is coming crumbling around you, right? Like you get to control how you're going to show up. And again, I keep on going back to like that spirit of curiosity. I think that a lot of people who are into manifestation think about it as a spirit of positivity, but you can't trick yourself or your spirit. So if you're not feeling positive and you're like, I feel positive, that's not going to
I
work.
love
So
this. I love this all. I feel so wonderful right now.
yeah,
This is great.
yeah,
Who are you
yeah,
joking? Who
you're
are you
not,
kidding?
but if you can just like ground yourself, right? Like just chill out and look, I don't know. I'm very emotional. I'm an emotional, but for a fire sign, I am like all water all the time. And when I say calm yourself down or ground yourself, sometimes it will take me like 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 15 days to ground myself and get some space. But that if
But you get
I get to
there.
make that decision and that's the only thing I control. So when you go and you're going to put your quarter into Facebook and pull the slot and hope that you make $1 million and you don't, you can't control what Facebook does. You can't control any of that. The only thing you can control is yourself and show up with a spirit of curiosity. Why did this work? Why did it not work? What do I think my next logical steps are going to be? And then the third thing that I'm learning from you actually and has been on my heart and my mind, but I don't claim to be an expert in it is, and this is sort of my goal heading into the new year here, is I need to celebrate my wins better, right? Like and I this is every time I come close to burnout, it's because I'm swinging from one big idea, one big project and one big vision to the other, and I don't even celebrate my wins. The first we were both nominated speaker of the year. I didn't even post about that. I was like, now that I have it, who cares? What's next? What's next? What's next? And so through your friendship, you're starting to teach me, like you go to Mexico, like you're like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
girl, we
taught
celebrating.
I just taught at Story Brand. I'm going to Mexico. And I'm just like, So I'm starting to incorporate that practice a little bit more into my business to avoid burnout because I've been super close a couple times in my business and it has sucked.
Yeah, it does suck. I've been there. Me and the burnout monster are cuddling up in bed together. Like I have been there. But you're right, celebration really does help. Or I have on my desk a win button. Have I ever showed this to you? It's gold.
No.
I got it on Amazon. Okay, so those of you who are looking, who are not watching the video and who are only listening, I'm sorry that you don't get this, but it's literally a button and it's gold. And I pre-recorded my voice so that when I have a win, I press the button. Crushing it. Woohoo! That's a win. So there's 3 different options on the button, and I literally press this button. It could be, I got the email I've been waiting for. Crushing it. It could be, I just closed that $20,000 deal. What, whichever it is, it's the little things in life. Me and this button go hard together. And my husband sometimes will come in and be like, "What happened?" Because he hears I pressed the button, so he knew something good happened.
You know what I love about that as well is that I think there's something really important about getting out of your head and getting things into the physical world. So instead of just like being in your head and saying like, "Oh, good job, Alea," or "Good job, Christy," like you are not only moving your body physically to hit the button, but then there's this sound, and of course, sound is very powerful. Like if you come from like a Judeo-Christian background, the whole universe is created with the word, right? And so that doesn't happen in your head. It's not like, in the beginning God thought of stuff, right? Like it's I'm out of my league. I don't actually know what the Bible says really because I was raised Catholic, but I think
Well, but words do matter. And even in bioenergetics, the frequency of the words that come out of your mouth affect the matter around you. That's why when people do affirmations, it's always better to do them out loud because then you're really activating yourself as a powerful creator. The words you say to yourself inside of yourself and the words that you say outside of yourself shape your universe. Literally, if you read quantum physics, anything, it all starts with the basics of like particles and waves and the intention put onto those particles and waves and the words and the environment spoken to them and around them affect their state. So if you think of everything that's on this planet and this universe made up of particles and waves, then why wouldn't you speak things like, "I can do this, I got this, I'm a badass, and I'm amazing, and I'm wonderful, and I'm smart, and I'm rich, and I do have that house, and I do have that car, and I have made 6 figures, and I have made 7 figures." It's so much more beneficial to say that than, "Well, I didn't get all the money I wanted from the Google ads, so that sucks." It's
I
like,
guess
come on.
I guess I guess that's my last tip, right? Like nothing's going to work the way you think it's going to work right out of the gate. Like when you work with me in the beginning, I'm like, "Well, what's your goal?" And then you speak your goal and I'm like, "That's great. Let's see what happens." And dollars to donuts, it just doesn't happen the way we expect. Sometimes it happens even better, right? You can't control it. Sometimes oftentimes it doesn't, especially with the recent changes to Apple's iOS 14 and how that's affect Facebook. But yeah, there's this whole process called like life and the human experience that happens between you're speaking the word and then you actually getting to the place where that happens. Now, do I believe that there's manifestation and magic involved in that? Yes. Do I also believe that, it does, you don't, it's not a matter of just like sitting on your sofa, just waiting for somebody to knock on your door with a big fat check. You got to put in some work. It's spiritual work. It's just answering the
Physical.
emails, right? Like staying
Right, you
on,
have to write the
whatever work
email.
you're doing to write the email.
You can't just rub crystals on you and expect for it to happen, right? That's not how this works. I
What?
wish. I
What?
know. The amount
But
of
I spent
crystals
all my
that I
money
have,
on crystals.
I'm really considering, they have like this crystal like subscription box, but then like I asked my husband, he looked at me, he goes, "That's look around." Like it's already a bit much. So he goes, "I don't think we need any more right now. I don't." And then he goes, he's joking, he goes,
You look
"I
like a
don't feel like
metaphysical
spirit is
supply
leading you
shop.
in that direction." Yeah. I don't feel like I heard that from spirit. I live here too. I don't think spirit told you that.
Brandon.
Oh.
Don't even kid. Brandon's got his own crystal kits all over the place
Oh, he
too. Come
does.
on now.
All over his desk, he wears them daily. Yeah, no. He's I mean, we're in this woo marriage together.
Love it. I
So
love
you
it.
actually do a really good job of being hyper aware, not only of yourself, but of the status and position you are with your own energy in your life, which I applaud and I think is really valuable. Awareness is often and usually the first step, and it's curative often in by itself. But you usually take it a step further. You are aware of where your energy is, and you have some pretty cool ways of celebrating, protecting, and managing that energy through periods of growth. Can you share what some of those things are that come off the top of your head?
I can, and let me know if I leave anything out. So I
Okay.
was who was I? Oh, I was talking to my new VA, Yasmin, about this this morning. We met with a good friend, a mutual friend of ours, Megan Ely, who is just like super like extra and normal and buttoned up and type A, and she always does the right things. She knows the right things to say, and her business is amazing, all this stuff. And she is like, go, 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 go. Sometimes listening to her world just makes me feel exhausted. So the first thing I just need to understand like what takes my energy away and what gives my energy to me. And I started doing when I burnt out in my last job a lot of like mind body connection work, right? So I know where in my body certain things feel like stress or fear or unworthiness or disempowerment or whatever, kind of moves along the chakras. But it also has certain sensations for me, constriction, tightness, tingling, things like that. So I have a mind body connection. But I was talking to Yasmin about Megan, and Megan's like go 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 all the time, and she's amazing. She loves it. This is her world and her life. And I was joking with Yasmin. I remember the first time I said to Megan, I was like, I need 3 full hours every single day to meditate and journal, and sometimes meditate some more and journal some more, and maybe read some books, like 3 hours. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5 if I feel like I need more sleep than meditation, and I'm a very active participant in my spiritual life. So, we were talking a little bit before the show about some of the realizations that I've had recently and some of the revelations I've had. And then I'm directed to work on specific things. This is me taking care of me. It's not me going and buying the manifestation course and doing somebody else's stuff. Now, I will say, I have read a lot of self-help books. I have, I've done like oracle card master classes and stuff like that. I'm deep diving into crystals again after my experience in New England and Alea's guidance and stuff like that. And I love it. I love it all. And there is a time and place to learn. But if you can't take the learnings that you're getting and really sit and listen to yourself and what you need and your body needs and your soul and your mind and your spirit need, and then adapt all of that stuff to your life, you're not going to get very far. So I do have a lot, I do have a lot of information coming in, both professionally, staying on top of Facebook ads, and spiritually. But I metabolize that and process that in a way that makes sense for me and aids in my own spiritual growth. So we are, and I hope I'm not going too fast, but recently, after a
No, you're
series of
doing great.
experiences, I have really like from a and we were talking about the heart chakra, and I was like, it's related to power for me too, because I just felt it, in my solar plexus. But I have really been called to go back to some of the basics with self-love, because there are some parts that I'm very judgmental about myself. I have comparison hangovers in certain situations and around certain people, and I myself said, spirit said, whatever, my inner wisdom, God, whatever, said to me like, clean this shit up, right? Like, just clean this shit up. And you can't hide it. You can't hide the things that you hate about yourself from the universe. The universe hears it all the time. And so, unless I start cleaning up some of these things that I'm uncomfortable with myself, I don't show up authentically. I don't manifest what I want. I hit plateaus. I try to white knuckle my way through my business and my life, and things work okay ish because I'm smart and I'm stubborn, but ultimately, I'm not being guided in the way I could be guided, because there are these parts of me that I have not resolved in terms of self-compassion, self-love, and self-acceptance.
That's really I don't think you missed anything that I was thinking of, but I really like the way that you said that so people can understand, one, you going to someone who by the way, Megan is our publicist, so it's not like she's like they're like, "Why are you talking to this chick Megan in the first place?" Megan Ailey is fabulous. She's actually was by the time this recording drops, she would have already been on. So she was episode 3, I believe.
Good.
So she's fabulous, but it takes a lot to be a publicist, in my opinion, and she is like tailor made for it. But what I like about what you said, Christy, is you knew so much about what you needed that you were able to convey that to someone who might not need that same thing or might need to do it differently and has a different approach to life, but you still stood in what you needed and communicated that effectively so that you didn't find yourself bending and twisting to the whim of the way somebody else's life runs. And that happens a lot.
But I did
What
for a minute, right? And I think the trick
Yeah.
is to just be aware and honor that. So the one of the reasons why we're talking about Megan Ely, starting to understand, like, as it's unfolding, is I was, and I'm a little bit more out about this. So I was the end of 2020, things are just like not working for me. Like, my whole everything is just like flying off the rails for me. I can't answer emails. I can't, like, I'm not functioning any well. I'm not going to my office in town anymore. I'm super isolated. And so I was in therapy and I was like, I just think there's something wrong with me. And I'm like thinking maybe I need St. John's wort, or I'm depressed, or I have anxiety. And my therapist just offhandedly, like so rude and abrupt, says to me, she was like, "Well, you have ADHD, don't you?" And I was like, "I don't have ADHD. Like, what? No, I don't have
She
ADHD."
thought you knew you had ADHD
She
already? She
thought I
didn't
knew. And I was like, "My dad has it, but my sister has it." And she was like, "Here's a recommendation to go see a specialist." So I went to this guy who specializes in ADHD and other like mood style disorders, and I get diagnosed. And all of a sudden, I realize, and this is hard, but I think it's important. Hopefully, it will be useful to some of your listeners. I realized that I was never, I would, and I don't want to declare it too hard, but I realized that I was a certain way, and that I was never going to be one self help book away from being anybody other than myself. And what happened internally and spiritually is I looked at somebody who I really desperately wanted to be like, which is Megan, because she's organized and on top of it. And she can have a whole bunch of things coming at her and just handle it all really beautifully. And sometimes I can't even answer an email. Like, sometimes I can't even show up for my business at a certain day. And so all of 2021, I had been going through this process of mourning the fact that I was who I was, right? I am who I am. And I spent so many years in this like manifestation pool, swimming around in spirit in the universe, thinking I was going to be somebody else. And in spirit's like, you're not going to be anybody else but yourself, so you better get comfortable with who that is, both the shadow side and the gifts that I bring into the world. And Alea, you know, because you're my best friend, this has been a process of months, It's not
Yeah.
you are
I
not
would
one
I
journal
would
entry
argue
away from
it's
summing it
been
up.
years. I think that what's happening now is that you're just it's all coming together, so it's, like, in front of your face, but you can look back in your life and you see the points of the little constellation stars slowly starting to shift together, but yeah, I agree. But it's not it's not been like a, "Oh, I have ADHD. Okay, no, that's fine."
Right, and
That's
so
not how that works.
you've called it a couple of times in a couple of different situations. You have said, "Ooh, you better keep an eye on ego." And I thought ego was one thing, and it's really something else. Ego can be judgment. Who are you to judge? Who are you to judge yourself? That's
Mhm.
ego.
That
You
means
think
that you know
you're being
everything, and baby girl, you
mean
do
means
not.
you do not. And the second thing is that I can be somebody other than myself, right? That I wanted to be better, more spiritual, self-help, all the and they're useful tools, but the spirit with which I was approaching those tools was just completely crap.
Right.
I wanted to be somebody else, and that's just not going to happen. So now I'm going back and doing a lot more like self-compassion and sitting with like the parts of myself that terrify me the most or disgust me the most, and just holding compassionate space for those things. And it's been different.
Yeah. Yes, it has been different. Well, I'm glad that you're not anybody else besides Christy Osborne because I love and adore Christy Osborne, and it's actually been kind of cool going on this journey with you because every once in a while I'm just like, "Still love you. Yes, with that too. Yes, with that. Bring that on as well." All of that in the basket. Yes. And I think that it would be nice to be able to do that a little bit more easily for ourselves. It's always seems harder that way when we discover things about our shadow selves or the things that we don't like, or then we mess up and we make a mistake. It's like, ah, right? But I think that you're awesome.
Well, thank you.
If
I'm looking
nothing
forward
else,
to me thinking I'm awesome in all of the ways as well. I think that
I
there's
mean, I look forward to thinking about that about myself too.
we all should.
We all
We
should.
all should.
We all should. Okay. I have two more questions for you. And this kind of goes back. We were talking about all of the journey of you where you are now. You've been doing this for 8-ish years, right? So, what's the one piece of advice you would give your past self, the version of you who existed about a year after starting your business?
Focus.
Focus. Well, but is that the most loving piece of advice? So it's almost kind of mean, my love. So you now know that you have ADHD. That self didn't know that. So if you go back and you tell that little Christy to focus, they're going to be like, well, oh, sorry. I don't know if I have a clean rating on this episode or not. Well, bump you.
Maybe. Again, I think that what you're saying is well taken and part of my journey, actually. And so I'm probably gonna have to take that to meditation and journaling.
We'll stick that in the 3-hour agenda somewhere.
But for all of the folks that don't have ADHD, well, I can't talk it. For all of the neurotypical people, you can focus. For all of the neurodivergent people, especially people with ADHD, I could have focused better if I got help sooner.
Mm.
If I had laid down my ego enough to think that, you know, people one core piece of my identity is that I'm smart. I've always been told that I was smart. My earliest memories of being a toddler was my mother calling me precocious. Like that was nobody's ever my husband called me stupid once and I laughed at him and I said, we were arguing. I was like, out of all of the
All of the
insecurities, the
things.
whole menu that you could have chosen from, you chose the one thing that I'm not into. So, but the shadow side of that is sometimes having this huge ego and thinking I need to figure everything out before I ask for help. Or this other like story I'd tell myself where I'd say, I need to be willing to do things that I can't stand if I'm going to ask somebody else to do them. No, none of that. And if I had gotten help
Oh,
earlier,
that is a whole podcast episode in and of itself. Oh my, okay, we're gonna talk about that on Vox later.
If I could have gotten help earlier, I could have focused because one of the gifts of ADHD is that we also can hyper focus. I
Mm,
once spent 50 hours in 3 days building a Google Data Studio dashboard. I spent so much time in one single position that I hurt my neck working on a computer. ADHDers can focus, but we have to commit to what we're going to focus on before we can do it. And if I had just focused on numbers in the beginning, which I knew was my gift, then I wouldn't have tried to be a social media channel manager and a newsletter copywriter and all the things that I thought I needed to be because I was taking all the damn courses that told me that that was the next thing that I needed to be successful. And if I had just like listened to my own self and honored and paid attention to my own giftings, and focused in that way, I probably would not have plateaued in the six-figure area that I've been at, for some years now. Like I hit six figures in 18 months coming out of the gate. And then it was like slow grow,
yeah, it
just
was slow
focus.
financial growth, but I've been in the short time that I've known you in this embodiment, I've noticed really fast personal growth. So, yes, everybody wants some more money. I would love some more money. Everybody wants more money. But you have riches in self-awareness and growth that most people never achieve. They never know themselves to a tenth of how you've gotten to know yourself and taking the time to do that. So I look at you and I think that is like hashtag goals
Well,
because
thank you.
you're
I have to
welcome.
say, I sometimes wonder though, what is the more painful experience?
What do you mean?
Right? Because I mean, it's not super easy to have your ass tumbled in the universal, currents and be
Right.
aware that your ass is being tumbled in certain ways and being like, "Oh, I need to confront my shadow self, or I need to sit in compassion with things that I'm terrified to look at." Like really, we all have them. That is not that's not a comfortable experience. Like, we could joke and treat it lightly on a podcast, but man, when it's 4:30 in the morning and I'm, like,
I
sitting in
never
my
said
own
it was
shit, it's
comfortable.
not fun.
I never said it was comfortable or
No.
fun.
No.
But that's why it's so impressive that you do it to me, because a lot of people realize that it's not comfortable and it's not fun, so they compartmentalize and they say, "It's not gonna be comfortable or fun to really dive into who I am, so I'm gonna pretend like that doesn't exist and I'm just gonna do the whole business thing." And then they wonder why they end up with so many problems because they have decided not to do the work that they're being called to do. They think that, "Oh, if I just take that other course, if I just listen to that other guru, somebody else is going to take control of my life for me." And they step outside of the driver's seat. And for me, that's more terrifying than, you know, stepping in that seat, being scared, but at least then you're in charge of where you're going,
Yeah.
with the universe as your guide.
And unfortunately, in our culture, when like, I'm gonna talk about the hero's journey because this is kind of like your training, and
It is a
I
little bit of
love
my love
it.
language, if that could be a thing.
With US culture in particular, or Western European culture, maybe not. Like, I know people who live in Europe and they take 3 weeks off and they're like, "Bye, I'm not even gonna answer an email. Nobody's gonna answer the email. I'm gone. I told you I was gone. Bye." But in the United States in particular, our we seem to have cleaved off this segment of the hero's journey where it's the final battle and we're getting ready to win. What we don't acknowledge is the fact, like, if you think about Star Wars, Luke Skywalker lost his home before he even learned a single Jedi trick. And then when he was in the swamp, he was struggling to learn things. And it goes on and on and on. And so when we are focused solely on working our business and material success and having the millionaire mindset and things like that, and we don't acknowledge and honor the parts of us that are broken and chaotic and a mess, and we don't clean that shit up, we're we're not going to get to the final battle. That's bullshit. You don't start at the final battle.
No, that's not how that works. Or you can try. You can totally do that. Let me tell you how this is gonna work. You gonna come up with there the little orphan boy from whatever the name of his planet was, and then you're gonna go up to Darth Vader. You don't know yet how to use a lightsaber. You haven't learned how to beat a Jedi. You don't even know how to fight yet, or have the power or the drive or the motivation to really win that fight because you don't even know what the context is. So if you were to just come into that final battle without all the trials and tribulations that got you there, you would lose.
Yes.
You have to look at, like you were talking about earlier, Christy, that testing, right? That those moments of moving, poking around, finding that battleship, all of that is important to win the game. It's about the game, not just that final battle. I really appreciate you saying that. I have one last final question for you. You ready? You kind of already touched on it a little bit. How can you let me try again. How can you get in touch with your heart center to fuel self-esteem, willpower, and manifestation? This is, by the way, the journal prompt question for all of you empire builders out there. If you want to also answer this on your own, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, so I have definitely I boxed you the other day and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna do a new moon manifestation, like,
You should have
thing?" And
seen
you were
my
like,
face. I was freaking giddy. Like, I think I responded like, "Yeah, that's cool," and I like was like so excited.
right, so this is like a I didn't tell you this, but this is a big important one for me. First of all, my moon sign is Scorpio, and the new moon will be in Scorpio on November 4th. So it's like this big thing. Also, my own personal rhythms, and I've known this for a long time, like the beginning of winter is always a time for me to like reset. I settle and then I pop right back up. And so usually November, December feels like a new year for me. I swear I was like a druid in a different life, right? Because that's their new year. And I've had this rhythm forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So I wanted to make a really good manifestation. I was like, what do I want to manifest? And I felt like I needed to manifest money or manifest my next project or manifest an email list or manifest a whole bunch of people signing up for my blah 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 when I go speak at Wedding MBA next month. And I realized that I needed my new moon manifestation wish to be to connect more deeply and compassionately with myself, to open my heart center for myself. My heart center feels blown apart all of the time because I pour myself into my clients. I pour myself into my closest friendships. I pour myself into my dog, into my husband. I'm always giving, 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 giving. And I realize that if I cannot get into the habit of receiving, then I'm not going to receive, right? And so I've been working on with my heart set. We always talk about like a heart centered business, and we say, we think or we calculate that that's all about our clients. And this month, I'm showing up and saying, where do I need to show up for myself with self love and self compassion so that I may receive? Right? It's magic, but it's not magic. I hope I'm answering the question properly. Like I have a lot of things going on in my mind, but the point
There's no
is
proper. You're answering it
okay.
properly because this is your answer.
And where I got to that most recently, and this is a little bit shadow work, but it's not super formal shadow work, is that if I want to get to the next level with receiving, and I am going to love myself, I need to go beyond affirmations. And I've mentioned this. I need to sit with the most ugly and terrifying parts of myself and hold space for those parts without demanding that they change, right? Like we look at our ugliest parts and we're like, I need to fix that. I have to get a self-help book. I need to manifest this. I got to do this. I got to visit the oracle. I got to blah, 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 blah. And what I'm working on right now is how do I love myself right now as I am, wholly, good parts and bad parts, terrifying parts and joyful parts, without judgment, and just to hold space for that. And I feel like I sense, and I'm in process right now, but I'm sensing that if I can get there, I will truly have a heart-centered business. Not a customer service heart-centered business, but a true if I can hold space for myself in those ways, I know I will be able to hold space for anybody.
Wow, that is beautiful. I think that amazing sense of non-judgment, and it's like attached and detached at the same time. You're attaching closer to the wholeness of yourself and detaching from the judgment that says that parts of you are bad. And I love that. I really do love that. And that's why I say that you are my brave soul warrior, my friend, because a lot of people will just leave it very superficially at yeah, 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 non-judgment, yeah, 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 heart-centered, yeah, yeah, yeah. But to do the work and to look at the parts of you that you've said, "Oh, that's ugly, that's bad, that's wrong," and to say, "I love that too," and to mean it, not, "I love this too, this is great," but to truly discover a way to mean it, that, my friend, is success to me. There's lots of ways to be successful. That is how to be successful.
Yeah, I'd say thank you, and also read your self-help book, spines, and it just is like a little, like, prompt, like, to get you started. Read the self-help book titles, right? And then turn it to the opposite, right? Because you think you're not showing up with those gifts or skills, right? So I have one, Tara Moore's Playing Big, right? It terrifies me to think that I will be small and play small and I won't make a difference in the world and I won't make a difference in people's lives. That is a terrifying thing. What does it look like for me to sit with myself in meditation and accept and love a Christie Osborne that does play small? How do I know I play small?
Mm.
Because I bought the damn book about playing big. And what happens is when you start to acknowledge that, you get to make a choice about if you're going to reconcile it or not. But whatever choice you make comes from love and compassion. You can keep for me, I can keep the playing small. And if I do, I can love and be compassionate toward the ways in which I decide to play small, or I can let it go, thank that part of me for serving its purpose in my life, and then make a choice to play bigger, knowing what playing small looks like because I examined it in my own damn self.
Yeah, I love envisioning a world where everybody has that level of compassion for themselves, because imagine if you have that level of compassion for yourself, what that would mean for your level of compassion for others, and acceptance and lack of control and lack of opinion. You don't have to judge and be opinionated about everybody else or even yourself, really. So I would love if everyone could start doing more of that work, myself included. Thank you for modeling that for us, my friend. So, the very, very last thing is if people want to get more of your analytics, your ads, or your general woo self, where can they find you?
Wow. So this is actually me coming out of the woo closet. I've been asked
Oh, I'm
by
sorry.
certain
I
friends
forgot.
of mine for years, like, why aren't you more woo? And I'm like, nobody wants like math and woo, although that's bullshit because Albert Einstein
Everybody
was
wants
all
math
math
and
and
woo.
woo. Yeah. So there's not too much woo out there about me, but if you want to get a glimpse of my person and personality and the personal side of me on social media, you can find me at Cosborne Loves. That's C Osborne, no U in Osborne Loves. That's everywhere. Or if you want to follow me with my business, you can visit mountainsidemedia.com, or you can follow me on social at MTN, which is the abbreviation for mountain, MTN Side Media Co. And that's where the business happens. You see a lot of mountain stuff. If you want
I
to
wonder
zen
why
out
that
on like
is. Could it be
mountain
because
stuff,
your
you'll see
company
a
is
lot of
called
mountain stuff in my feeds.
Mountainside Media?
And I live
I
here.
love it. And you live in the mountains. Well, I love it. This has been one of my favorite episodes so far, and no, I don't just say that to everybody. It's gotten me to think and feel and really do some of my own introspective work, which most of our conversations do anyway. So thank you for being on. Thank you for adding so much value and for being so insightful and vulnerable. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, my dear friend Alea Harris.
Absolutely, my dear friend Christie Osborne. Well, thank you, wonderful listener, for joining us as well on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. Until next time, I wish you lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
This episode is brought to you by Bioenergetic Business Coaching by Flourish Marketing. Do you wake up feeling tired? You can't build your empire if you're cranky and exhausted. If you're fed up with fighting a losing battle against the burnout monster, it's time to fix the root causes of your issues and get aligned. Turn up the wattage on your glow and cash flow with effective business strategies. Bioenergetic Business Coaching is for growth-getting entrepreneurs who know they need to make a change to see better results and reach their goals. If you want to unblock your energy and unleash abundance, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to become a client. Now's your chance to step into the role of CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and flourish in business and life. Go to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to get started.
Okay, she dropped some serious knowledge. I don't know about you, but I was taking copious notes as she was talking. And I talk to this girl every day, and I still was taking copious notes. One of the things that she said that I thought was so powerful was I realized I would never just be one self-help book away from being a different version of myself or being a different self. And I think that's magical. I think that is what I needed to hear. You don't use self-help books to change yourself. You use them for self-awareness so that you can use that curative awareness to become the highest version of yourself. And you can only do that when you accept all parts of you. You can't accept only the good parts of your business. You have to accept all of it. You can only accept when your bank account is super high. You also have to accept and take responsibility for when it's at its lows. But no one book or one thought process is going to get you there. It's a holistic perspective about how your energy affects your business energy and affects your overall livelihood and lifestyle. So Christy dropped some gems, but hope that one of the things that you got out of this is that you, my friend, are perfect just the way you are. And some of the things that you've told yourself about yourself, and maybe the things that the world has told you about you, it's time to reconsider them. It's time to reconsider some of the paradigms that you've gotten your mind wrapped in and twisted around and that you're operating from because they could be no longer serving you to get to your goals and your higher purpose for your highest good. With that, I thank you so much for listening in on this episode, and we'll catch you next Wednesday in our next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Dive into the show notes at www.flourishmarketing.co/podcast and connect with Alea at Flourishing Entrepreneur on Instagram. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. From the entire Flourish Marketing team, we wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.